We had been anticipating this trip for years. It would be the experience of a lifetime, one that very few people would ever have the chance to do. Our band was headed for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. It took weeks and weeks of preparation, fundraising, signing papers, and practicing. Every morning we would go outside and wake up all the neighbors playing through our music, learning the moves, and getting in shape for the 6-mile march. But now the day had come. Our huge 300-plus member marching band loaded the 8 buses on that chilly November morning. I clearly remember the excitement in everyone's eyes as we scrambled around in the snowy parking lot trying to fit our colossal load of luggage onto the buses, and searching for our friends to sit by and call our bus buddies. It seemed like we waited forever for those buses to take off. The excitement electrified the cold air, and the second the buses took off, it was filled with cheering, squealing, and applause. That bus trip will never be forgotten. It took 2 days to drive to the city. In that time, there were so many books, movies, naps, and conversations that we almost went into delirium. But finally, we pulled into our hotel in New Jersey, probably around 2 a.m. The entire band was extremely excited, but too tired to do too much celebrating, so we all found our roomies and went to sleep. The trip was filled with adventures through New York City, including a Broadway show, a tour through the city and Central Park, and a trip to the top of the Rockefeller Center, and many more. But of course the parade was the real reason we were there. The night before Thanksgiving, we were all told to go back to our rooms and try and get some sleep. Our departure time was 1 in the morning. So we tried as hard as we could to do just that, but every member was absolutely giddy with excitement and curiosity for what was to follow. We knew that sleep would be extremely valuable to our performance though, so we didn't stay up too late. When our wake-up alarm went off around midnight, it seemed crazy that we were leaving now. I don't remember much about the morning, but I know that we weren't quite in our right minds. In the rooms, we put on our noble baby blue uniforms, with plenty of extra layers underneath. Then, with extreme excitement and anticipation, despite the fact we were all half asleep, we loaded the buses and set off on our adventure. We arrived in the city around 2 a.m. The darkness and silence was almost impressive, despite the fact it was indeed New York City. Here our band director put the pressure on to hurry and behave ourselves during this early rehearsal. I remember standing around waiting for our turn to rehearse our song in front of the Macy's store, but we finally got moving. It was difficult to end up right where we were supposed to be because there were so many people in the band, so it took a few tries. The lights they had on in front of us were so bright they were almost blinding, and we really felt like we were on a stage. The rehearsal snapped along meticulously, and every move we made had to be quick and efficient. It didn't take long until they moved on to the next band, and we were dismissed. After the rehearsal, we just sat in the buses for quite a while and tried to sleep. Must have been a couple hours. After what felt like forever, we unloaded in a dreary haze to the restaurant Mars 2112 for some breakfast. We were all still in uniform and felt like some kind of space explorers in this entertaining sci-fi inspired eatery. I don't remember much of this either, but the image of one euphonium player, completely passed out with his face in an empty bowl of cereal, will never leave my mind. Once again, it felt like forever that we were in there, but finally the sun was starting to come up and we were on our way to march in the Macy's Day Parade. Once our buses pulled in, we got our instruments out and ogled over all the sights and sounds as we walked towards our spot in the lineup. It was amazing to see all kinds of celebrities, balloons, and extraordinary floats getting set up. We were the first band to go on, leading the parade right after Tom the Turkey. Behind us was the famous Smurf float, and then Miley Cyrus singing on her float for the movie Bolt. People were zipping around everywhere, and we were chattering amongst ourselves at 100 miles an hour as we were experiencing the magical excitement in the air. Finally, our time had come to step off in the parade and claim our 10 minutes of fame. Our director ecstatically hollered out the command to step off and was clapping and telling us good luck as we walked by. The adrenaline was thick in the air and was absolutely electrifying. Marching in that parade was one of the greatest feelings in the world. The crowd was alive and completely packed in the streets, only held back by the barriers the police had set up. On the route there were press everywhere taking our pictures and getting right in our faces with video cameras. Alongside them were plenty of cops monitoring the situation. Our band was ablaze as we blared out our heart-filled patriotic tunes. We passed Columbus Circle, marched down Broadway, and through Times Square before arriving at our final destination in front of the Macy's store. In a final surge of energy, we performed our show with the Broadway tune "Don't Rain on My Parade" in front of all of America as it was broadcast live. We left to our school song, and it was all over after that. As we marched back to the buses, we felt the extreme exhaustion kick in, but as our hearts were still beating fast, we reflected on the feat we had accomplished. We were absolutely humbled by this opportunity and fell in love with the American experience. It was extraordinary to represent our school and the state of South Dakota in this brilliant, sparkling celebration, and we were awed by the magic that we experienced that crisp November morning.